So it's the next great vaccine hope, but it's one shrouded in controversy suddenly. The AstraZeneca vaccine, regulators in the EU have just approved it on Friday for adults above the age of 18. Now concerns have emerged there that it was not tested enough on people over 65. Canada has ordered 20 million doses of AstraZeneca. The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, has pleaded with Health Canada, approve it now. And Minister Dominic LeBlanc has said it could be weeks away, but so far we haven't seen it. If it does arrive, could it accelerate Canada's timeline for vaccinations? And what are the concerns here? Let's find out. Joining me now is the man who oversaw the development of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, the Regius Professor of Medicine at the University of Oxford, Sir John Bell. Welcome to the program. The EU approved AstraZeneca. You're using it. Brazil, the UK, India, Mexico. Canada has not. What are the concerns from the Canada point of view, and how quickly could this vaccine be approved and put into use in Canada?
Well, I think that the data is the data. It's the same data that the MHRA approved the vaccine in December, and the EMA approved it today. So it is what it is. It's I think a pretty persuasive package. It's a very safe vaccine, and it's very effective. And I think countries just need to decide at what pace they want to approve it. The great push in UK vaccination has come from having the AstraZeneca vaccine available, and it allows you to vaccinate loads of people. So we're vaccinating about 200 people a minute in the UK. 200
people a minute, which is astonishing. And this is what is driving some Canadians crazy. We're falling behind, and we haven't approved AstraZeneca, but there are concerns out of Germany, like it's only for people over the age of 18. Germany said it won't recommend using the jab for people over the age of 65. They say there was a lack of evidence of the efficacy on elderly people. Are these valid concerns about AstraZeneca?
Well, I think every regulator's got to make their own decisions, and I wouldn't be so presumptive as to step into that space. But, you know, the MHRA is a very credible regulator. It's probably the most established and experienced regulator in Europe. The reality is we're making a lot of decisions based on less than 100% perfect data. And the reason is, in case people hadn't spotted it, we're in a pandemic. And so what you have to do, first of all, is be sure these vaccines are completely safe, and then make your best judgment about where and how they're going to be effective. And the AstraZeneca vaccine has been into fewer elderly people than the other vaccines because we started earlier and we were being very careful about potential safety signals. But there is a wealth of immunogenicity data that shows that it produces just the same immune response in elderly people as it does in everybody else. And so it's hard to imagine that you wouldn't use it in the people who are most vulnerable, given the fact there's really quite compelling evidence that it's going to be as good in a 75-year-old as it will be in a 25-year-old.
Now, I know you got relatives in Canada. Are you surprised that Canada has been so slow off the mark on this, and that Canada, compared to the UK, has vaccinated comparatively so many fewer people per capita?
If you take the UK or Israel as this kind of gold standard, you guys are well behind, but a lot of that will depend on which vaccines you have available and what your organizational capacity to get them into people is. So I think, again, to make the point, there's nothing wrong with the mRNA vaccines. In fact, they're very, very good vaccines. But having deployable, the qualities of a really good vaccine are not just the top-line efficacy signal. It's also, can you use them? Can you get them out the door quickly? Are they safe? What's the durability of the immune response, all that stuff. And those are all key elements. And AstraZeneca, I think, is pretty good in all those. I'm not going to pretend it's the best vaccine because I don't think anybody knows what the best vaccine is.
The big concern is supply. Supply. There's political pressure. Australia is manufacturing the AstraZeneca vaccine themselves. Canada won't be doing that. But how quickly could a country like Canada get a license and scale up production to guarantee there could be supply of AstraZeneca, which, by the way, supply has been at the center of the big debate with the EU on it. Is that possible? Could Canada have licensed it and produced it domestically?
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure what facilities you've got to produce it domestically, but, if you take the UK started this crisis with very close to zero vaccine manufacturing capabilities. And we've built it during the course of the last 9-10 months. So we now are making a lot of AstraZeneca vaccine. The Novavax facility, which is the most recent vaccine to report very positive data, that's being made in Stockton. We've now got significant capacity to make our own vaccines onshore. And we took that decision last spring to make sure that we actually had that capability.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on something Canadians need to hear, because domestic supply has been a big issue here. And here we see the UK, you have more supply, you're producing all sorts of different vaccines there, and you're saying you didn't really have the capacity to do that domestically a year ago. What did the UK do differently a year ago to prepare for this vaccination process than, say, Canada?
Well, of course, we had the pressure because we knew we were likely to have a domestic vaccine in the form of the Oxford vaccine, which, as you know, was developed in January, February before the pandemic hit, and was the first vaccine in clinical trials at the beginning of April. So there was a real imperative to make sure that we didn't end up discovering and developing a vaccine and then couldn't make it. So the government, there was actually a funded project to build a vaccine manufacturing facility, but they hadn't started the project yet. So what they did was they repurposed a couple of rather good manufacturing facilities elsewhere in the country, one at a biotech company called Oxford Biomedica, another one at a CDMO called Cobra. And they repurposed those, they transferred the technology to them, they learned how to scale up, they went through all the hard yards it takes to become a manufacturing facility. So we started from nothing, and we're now pretty pleased that we're in pretty good shape. Lots of other countries decided that they would rely on others, and that perhaps has not proved to be the right strategy.
That's fascinating. In other words, Canada could have followed a similar trajectory, and here we are, end of January. We could, looking at specifically the AstraZeneca, I know mRNA has different protocols, but Canada could have established a domestic supply. That's what you're saying. If we got the license for AstraZeneca, for example, which other countries have got, potentially we could be producing it ourselves.
So the conditions of the deal that we as the university did with AstraZeneca were only twofold. One is that it needed to be sold at cost during the pandemic. So AstraZeneca are giving that vaccine away for free, to be clear. Well, not for free, for cost, but they're not making any money on it. And the second one was that we wanted AstraZeneca to really lean in to the global production of that vaccine at the highest scale that they could get to. And so to date, they've licensed 13 different countries to produce the vaccine. Some of them have gone fast and produced it really efficiently. Some have gone slow and they're having more trouble. But the truth is they're out there attempting and developing the processes to make more vaccine, because the world does not have enough vaccine. We need more vaccine. And the best way to do that is to expand the number of platforms. And AstraZeneca, at full tilt, will be able to produce 3.2 billion doses if all its facilities were running at full tilt. So, they have made a real effort. And I think it's a shame they're getting beaten up for trying hard to service the world.
But Sir John Bell, I just got to tell you, listening to you, I'm shaking my head. 13 countries producing it. We need to produce more of it. We need more quickly. But Canada could have and chose not to. Again, I'm just asking your view, because you know our country and you were in charge of that development. Does that have you shaking your head as a miss?
Well, I'm not going to get into a discussion about whether you guys did the right thing or the wrong thing. The reality is you don't have enough vaccine. You need to get on with it. And, it wouldn't hurt if you approved the AstraZeneca vaccine and started injecting people. And that will increase your numbers pretty dramatically. Yeah, I think you do need to think about your health security issues, about being able to manufacture onshore. You are overly dependent, in my view, on the US of A. And although the current administration in the US, I think, will be more sympathetic, the previous administration was not going to give you a leg up on any of this stuff. So, you do have to be independent and autonomous in your in these health security issues.
All right, Sir John Bell, very interesting. Thanks for joining us.